Okay, hello guys. This is going to be a video that I put together pretty quickly. That's why I don't have like lighting out and why I'm doing it on computer instead of editing it. It just makes it go by quicker. But this is going to be a prediction. You can see today is Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. I don't know if I'll be able to get this video out quickly enough for any of my predictions to come true or if they'll happen before I get this out, and I don't want people thinking that I just, did this post hoc. But if you haven't seen the news, then earlier today, Hezbollah got hit by a wave of exploding pagers. Basically, somehow Israel made a bunch of their pagers explode. I'm sure we will find uh, a bunch. I'm sure we'll find out more information about how exactly they did this and the exact cost of it uh, at some point. But for now, really all we know is that they blew up a bunch of pagers that people were carrying around with them. I don't believe they were all Hezbollah fighters. I straight up just don't believe that because pagers are pretty common in some parts of the world, including Lebanon. And even if it is just them, they hit a lot of innocent bystanders. Like you're seeing people already get gaslight others about how this was a surgical strike or something, and it wasn't. Like you don't know where they are. You're just blowing things up. You can say if you're at war, you can say that this is an acceptable level of collateral damage, and I would disagree, but that's what it is, okay? There's a lot of collateral damage. Don't let them lie to you. But basically, that's what happened earlier today. And my prediction, in short, is that this is a prelude to a much larger war because I don't know exactly how to put this, but ever since the war in Gaza started last year, uh, Israel and mostly Iran, but a couple other groups, particularly groups that are affiliated with Iran, have been edging a much bigger, wider regional war. But they keep backing down. You know that like there will be small flare-ups, and then it'll go back to where we are now, where the fighting is mostly just in Gaza, along with some in the West Bank. But I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. And my short again prediction is basically just that Israel is finally saying "fuck it, we ball," and they are making a preemptive strike because these pagers that will disrupt Hezbollah's communication network, not just their military communications, but their civilian branch as well. Because Hezbollah is a political party as well. Like there are civilian people in there working. And just to be clear, I'm not going to shed too many tears over the military fighters that get killed from this or from anything else. But I just don't like innocents getting caught in the crossfire. But also, more recently, I don't know how many people have heard about this, but the defense minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I have it highlighted right here. Yoav Gallant, uh, Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, has been trying really hard to get rid of him. He hasn't been able to do so, at least not yet, but he's been trying hard to get rid of him. And a big part of the reason for that is that Gallant is pointing out that Netanyahu is not doing a great job with the war and everything because not only is he sabotaging a bunch of deals to get hostages back, he's not really leaving. His strategy just isn't going to actually stop the fighting. Like, there's still fighting in Gaza. Right, as we're speaking, there's still fighting going on. Hamas has not been defeated. Like, it's much diminished from what it was a year ago, but it's not defeated, and you can't defeat an insurgency with this sort of tactic. And by being so heavy-handed, let's say, by just blowing up basically everything that moves and killing everyone in sight, all they're doing is granting Hamas more legitimacy. And they're also doing similar stuff in the West Bank, which here's a map over here. Like there's Gaza and there's the West Bank. They're doing similar stuff in the West Bank, so it tensions there are boiling. More and more people are dying. So basically, when you combine that with Lebanon, it really does look like okay, yeah, war is going to break out at some point, whether they want it to or not. But again, the exploding pagers thing, that's really something that you only do if it's a preemptive strike. It doesn't make much sense to do that and then not follow up on it. So basically, a wider war would look like again, they're still trying to fight in the Gaza Strip. They're going to have an occupation going on there. There's going to be more fighting and even harsher occupation in the West Bank, which they're already occupying. It's not on this map, but up here, this part of Syria is the Golan Heights, which Israel has been occupying for a while. And then this southern part of Lebanon is where Hezbollah is based. So basically, they're going to want to have like four fronts open basically. Although I guess the Golan Heights aren't, there's not really fighting there right now that I'm aware of. So three fronts basically, and they just don't really have the manpower or resources to do that properly. But that's what they're gonna try and do. In fact, right now Israel's economy is just not doing well for the simple reason that war is very expensive, and when you have a huge chunk of your working age population in uniform, either called up as reservists or they're just currently in the Israeli military, they're doing that instead of working. They're not really going out and producing stuff, which they normally would be. Because peace is profitable, usually, war really just isn't. Like, if you have something like a tank that costs a lot of money and it doesn't have any real economic benefits, whereas if you spend that money on like roads and schools and hospitals, then that has economic benefits that help people out downstream. So you might be thinking, okay, if the war is bad for Israel's economy, then why are their current leaders trying so hard to get it started? Because again, Yoav Gallant, he has criticized Netanyahu a bit, and basically, from my understanding, the Israeli defense whole area, I guess. Sorry, I don't know exactly how to word it, but like the military and everything, they want to bring an end to the fighting in Gaza as soon as possible, just because again they have more important stuff to worry about. But if you're wondering, like, okay, why would Netanyahu and the other leaders want a bigger war? It's because a bigger war will actually help them specifically in the long run. Now, it won't help Hezbollah because the current way that the conflict is, it's low intensity. They do a couple of airstrikes, lob a couple missiles at each other. Some people die. Uh, Hezbollah gets to film it and say, "Look, Israel's so evil. This is what they're doing, and we are resisting them." That's how they maintain legitimacy in the eyes of the population they rule over, and that's how they keep money coming in from Iran because fundamentally the leaders just they just like being in charge. However, this I probably don't need to tell you that the war, for various reasons, has somewhat strained relations between Israel and its biggest benefactor, the United States. And we have a presidential election coming up. One of the major candidates, Donald Trump, has secretly, not secretly, but privately met with Benjamin Netanyahu, and Netanyahu just very explicitly wants him to win because Trump will not do anything to stop him from just straight up doing a genocide, which that is what Netanyahu and the hard right in Israel want, which is, well, the more time goes on, the more I feel like the hard right is the bulk of the population, but whatever. The point is, if there's just chaos in the Middle East while a Democrat is president, right now it's Joe Biden, then that will make it easier for Trump and other people to pin that chaos on Joe Biden, even if that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and just say, oh, yes, okay, we're going to get more of this, and it's going to get even worse unless you vote for Donald Trump, which, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you can see how that would convince some people. And that's only part of the plan. Like, this is Netanyahu's part of the plan. He wants Trump to become president again so that he can, number one, stop criticizing him and making him and Israel, by extension, look kind of bad for some of the things they do, which do deserve criticism. Number two, he'll probably just send him more aid and try and get Palestinians and other groups to sign, let's say, unfavorable peace deals. However, again, that's only part of the plan to get Trump elected. Like, number one is like if he wins legitimately, then cool, they'll just go with that. But there are a lot of people in states like Georgia and a few others who they just want to throw out thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of votes if the vote doesn't go their way. We'll have to see how that turns out, but like that is definitely part of their plan is to just steal the election, just straight up steal it. So, in summary, Benjamin Netanyahu and the international far right, let's say, because the far right really is an international movement, but most notably Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump really, really, really want a greater war to break out because, well, it also helps Netanyahu stay in power domestically in Israel. Like a lot of people were saying after October 7th that the Israeli people would lose faith in Netanyahu and think, okay, he's an idiot, we don't want him in charge anymore. But I honestly, I'll believe that when I see it. But short answer, they want to have a bigger war in Gaza, West Bank, and soon in Lebanon. Maybe it'll spread farther beyond that. And they're going to blame that chaos on Democrats. However, that affects the election remains to be seen, but whether it goes one way or the other, uh, Trump and his proxies, let's say, are going to try and steal it. And whatever the case, it's not going to go super well for Israel because, again, their economy's struggling. More and more of their people are dying and getting crippled in the war. And it's definitely not going to go well for any of the civilians of this general area. And yeah, that's about it. That's my prediction. Like I said, this is kind of rambly, and it wasn't something I just spent a lot of time thinking through, but it's just that's my current prediction. And also, full disclosure, I shouldn't have to say this because I am literally just some guy on YouTube, but I'm not some sort of expert, so just don't take any of this too seriously. Anyways, goodbye.